Michele Silenzi, a young boy from Trieste, Italy, rides his bike to school with a €50 note, planning to buy a costume for a party. At school, he sits behind his crush, Stella. Their class is interrupted by a police officer named Giovanna, who also happens to be Michele's mother. She is there to inquire about a missing student and asks the class to inform the police if they hear anything. After she leaves, Michele experiences a nosebleed and runs to the bathroom. His bullies, who've been tormenting him for some time, threaten him into giving them all his money. Michele returns home feeling upset. At home, Michele decides to use the pennies he's saved to buy a costume. He visits a rundown store and asks for a superhero outfit. The shopkeeper hands him a tight, uncomfortable suit and a cheap cape, claiming it's a costume of a Chinese superhero. Michele isn't fond of it but buys it anyway. When his mother, Giovanna, returns from work, she finds him in the costume. Michele refuses to go to the party, feeling foolish in the outfit. She reassures him that he looks fine and encourages him to go. At the party, Michele enjoys himself and even talks to Stella. However, his bullies play a video of Stella walking on the street, claiming it was found on Michele's phone and accusing him of stalking her. Embarrassed, Michele runs to the bathroom and locks himself in while his classmates bang on the door. Frustrated, Michele wishes he could be invisible. Just then, the lights go out and he jumps out of the bathroom window to return home. The next morning, Michele wakes up to his dog barking but ignores it. He heads to the bathroom to brush his teeth and is shocked to see that he is invisible, with only his robe and toothbrush visible in the mirror. Panicked, he removes his robe and his mother enters but completely ignores him, proving that only Michele can see himself. Quickly, he writes a note saying he's gone to school early and leaves it on the bed. Giovanna reads it and dismisses it, then calls Michele on his phone. Michele, still invisible, answers and reassures her he's fine. Confused about what to do next, Michele covers himself with long sleeves and heads to school. There, he watches Stella from afar. He then spots his bully and decides to take revenge. Michele undresses and becomes invisible, walking into the school unnoticed. During class, he uses the bully's paintball gun to spray the teacher, which leads to the bully being suspended. Michele sneaks into the girls' changing room, watching them undress. Suddenly, a towel lands on him, revealing his silhouette to the girls. As his powers begin to fade, he becomes visible again. The girls scream as they see a naked Michele under the towel. The next day, in class, a psychologist named Basili lectures about teen mental health, addressing recent runaways. As Michele listens, his hands start glowing and then vanish. Fortunately, the class ends, and he rushes out before anyone notices. Michele hurries home, covering his body, and finds his little sister, Candela, in his room. He asks her to leave, facing the wall, but she gets suspicious and opens and closes the door to pretend she's leaving. Michele doesn't check and begins undressing. When he turns around, Candela screams, shocked to see him invisible. Michele explains that his costume has given him superpowers. Meanwhile, at the police station, Basili works with Giovanna to investigate the missing children. Giovanna insists the kids may have been kidnapped, but Basili argues they are simply rebellious, as is typical for their age. Upon returning home, Giovanna learns that Michele remains invisible. During a phone call, she reveals that Michele is adopted, which surprises and hurts him. Michele quietly leaves the house, heading to a nearby swing. While he's swinging, Stella arrives, mistaking him for a ghost. Instead of being scared, she asks to be his friend. Michele communicates by drawing a smiley face in the sand, and the two agree to meet again. After Stella leaves, Michele notices a blind man staring at him despite his invisibility. The man walks away with a cane. Later that night, Michele visits Stella's house. She's thrilled to have an invisible friend, and they share a kiss. However, just as his powers start to fade, Michele runs away before Stella can see his face. The next day, during gymnastics class, Stella is pricked with a needle and loses consciousness. Michele, determined to tell her about his invisibility, arrives at her gym with his dog. There, he sees a masked man carrying Stella. Michele attacks the man, and the dog bites his hand, but the kidnapper escapes with Stella. The police arrive and confirm that the missing children were kidnapped, not runaways. Stella wakes up in a strange facility, her head attached to wires, and Basili interrogates her. It's revealed that Basili is behind the kidnappings. The next day, after some tests, Stella is placed in a cell, where she reunites with two friends who had previously gone missing. Meanwhile, Michele is alone at a beach when the blind man he met earlier appears. He seems to know Michele's questions before he can ask them, as if he's reading his mind. When Michele inquires about his identity, the man reveals that his name is Andrzej and that he is Michele's father. Skeptical, Michele accuses him of lying. Andrzej then begins to explain his past. He was once a regular man from a small town in Russia, until a nuclear explosion devastated the area. The explosion killed many people and mutated others, granting them superhuman abilities like telepathy, invisibility, and flight. These individuals, known as the Specials, were taken to a military camp called the Division to be trained as weapons. However, the more the Specials used their powers, the weaker they became. Another side effect was that everyone became infertile, except for Andrzej and Michelle's mother, making the birth of new Specials impossible. The couple had Michelle, the first special child, but he was taken away immediately after birth. In an effort to protect him, Andrzej and Michelle's mother tried to escape, but the Division pursued them relentlessly. Andrzej had the ability to read minds, while his wife could turn invisible. Despite their powers, Andrzej couldn't prevent his wife's death at the hands of the Division. To keep Michelle safe, Andrzej placed him on Giovanna's doorstep after reading her mind and confirming she was a good person. Now that the Division has discovered that Michelle, the special child, lives in town, they are kidnapping children and testing them to determine if they possess powers. Michelle is stunned by the revelation of his true origin and almost refuses to believe it. However, Andrzej warns him that they don't have much time, as a fisherman nearby has called the police. Andrzej gives Michelle a suit that allows him to become invisible, just like his body. He then erases the fisherman's memory before leaving. The police, along with Basili, soon arrive. Giovanna confides in Basili that Michelle is adopted, which leads Basili to suspect that he might be the special child. He offers to take Michelle home, and when they arrive, Michelle notices Basili's hand injury. The injury matches the spot where his dog had bitten the kidnapper who took Stella. Michelle becomes suspicious of Basili and attempts to flee, but he discovers that Basili has locked all the doors, planning to kidnap him. Michelle rushes into a room, strips off his clothes, and turns invisible. He manages to escape, with Basili chasing after him. While on the streets, Michelle spots his bully, Ivan, riding his bike. He hops on behind him and urges Ivan to speed away. Ivan, though nervous, complies. Once they reach a safe area, Michelle reveals his identity and explains the abductions of their classmates. Meanwhile, Stella and the other captives spot a ventilation opening in the ceiling. They stack on top of each other, and Stella climbs out. While hiding from guards, she climbs a tower and reaches a searchlight. Thinking her invisible friend is searching for her, she creates a smiley face with the light and flashes it into the sky. Michelle sees the flashing light and realizes that Stella is trying to signal him. He and Ivan follow the light, but just as they arrive, the guards catch Stella. Ivan causes an electrical malfunction with his paintball gun, allowing invisible Michelle to sneak inside. He overhears Basili and his men monitoring Giovanna and Andrzej, who are working together to find Michelle. Michelle goes deeper into the facility, knocks out a guard, and threatens another to unlock the cell where Stella and the other children are being held. After freeing them and trapping the guards inside, Michelle reveals himself to his friends, who are astonished. The boys suggest running away, but Stella insists on saving an old man she saw locked in another room. Michelle and Stella go to rescue him, but the man betrays them, leading them into the hands of the villains. He pulls out a gun and points it at Michelle. Just then, the old man collapses, revealing that he has mind control powers. He had been controlling Basili and Stella to lure Michelle here. The man then summons a submarine and places Michelle and Stella inside. As they're taken out to sea, Andrzej and Giovanna arrive and meet Ivan. The building begins to explode, and they rescue the kidnapped children, along with Basili. Andrzej reads Basili's mind, learning that someone was controlling him. They escape just before the building is destroyed. Back in the submarine, Michelle discovers his telekinetic abilities and starts to wreak havoc. Using his powers, he defeats the men and frees himself and Stella. They return to shore, where a crowd awaits. Michelle shows off his powers by going invisible in front of them. Andrzej tells him that they must erase everyone's memories to protect them from the Division. Michelle agrees and shares a final kiss with Stella before the memories are wiped. After erasing everyone's memories, Andrzej tells Michelle he'll be back before leaving. Life returns to normal for everyone. The scene shifts to Russia, where Michelle's mother, believed to be dead, is revealed to have survived. She was severely wounded during her confrontation with the Division and has since defeated them, now ruling over it. In truth, she was the one who sent agents to retrieve Michelle, intending to bring him back to her. This woman is now focused on waging war against normal people who view them as freaks. A guard informs her that although they lost Michelle, they've located his twin sister Natasha. Flashbacks reveal that Andrzej had run away with 2 children that day, not just Michelle. The film ends with the guard telling Michelle's mother that Natasha is currently somewhere in Morocco,